Broadcasting from a van down by the river.
Hi there. Are you a large person, pleasantly plump, a little on the hefty side perhaps? Well, let's face it. Are you fat? When you go jogging, do you leave potholes? When you make love, do you have to give directions? At the zoo, do elephants throw you peanuts? Do you look at a menu and say, okay? Well, now you can eat all you want, because at Thornton Mellon's Tall and Fat stores, we've got you covered. That's right, fine woolen and woolen blend suits and sport coats in all the larger sizes. Husky, stout, extra stout, and the new Hindenburg line. And for you ladies, we have caftans, muumuus, and our own exclusive A-frame in all colors and patterns. Yes, we have miles and miles of fabric. So take it from me, Thornton Mellon. If you want to look thin, you hang out with fat people.
Thornton Mellon's Tall and Fat, 150 locations across America.
Hello, I'm Frank Bartles, and this here's my partner, James Brown. As the weather starts getting too hot, we hope you will reach for one of these. New Bartles and James Brown wine cooler.
It tastes good.
They come in 3 funky flavors. Gravity grape, prime of passion fruit, and my personal favorite, papaya.
Papaya's got a brand new day.
It'll get you off faster than a big city lawyer. And a single pack serves 6 to 10, just like James.
New Bartles and James Brown wine coolers. The cooler, made in the cooler.
Now behind bars everywhere.
And thank you for your support.
You're listening to the Fast Plastic Radio Network. It's about the game.
And welcome to the Fast Plastic Radio Network. I'm JB, and as always, with your host, Billy O.
Hello.
What's going on?
Hello, JB.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me out there?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm ready for a great show tonight. How about you?
Absolutely. I'm always ready for a great show. Always.
I think we got one heck of a show lined up for all the loyal listeners.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we got a really big show.
How about knocking me down? Well, wait a second. Yeah, maybe knock me down just 1 decibel.
Okay, and you're right there?
Test 1, 2. Yeah, right there. Good job.
All right. So, we've had some upgrades here to the studio. We've got new microphones. We've switched monitors. We're running dual monitors now. And, of course, we've upgraded. Hopefully, our camera shots are going to be better. We went to a 1080p camera here in the studio now.
Yeah, and I see we got our new big screen TV up top up there. Oh, wait a second.
Yeah, no, that's apparently we've ran into some technical difficulties here. Our maintenance guy said he can't find a stud. Apparently, I don't know.
Well, if the maintenance guy was Schneider, problems would be solved.
Absolutely, it would be.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You got to take it one day at a time, though.
I've heard that. Actually, I've heard that. So, I know we've got a really big show tonight. A lot of interesting stuff, and we've got a special call that we're going to make tonight.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we had a great show last week. Really good reviews on that from feedback I've received from guys all over the place. So thanks to everybody for listening.
We've had like almost 300 views on Facebook on the last week's show alone, and it's been shared a few times also on numerous pages too.
Yeah, that's great. We also on YouTube, there's some traffic there, and the radio station's traffic as well. So yeah, it's going great. And that was all done. I wasn't on my A game.
Yeah.
I was struggling through the last half of that interview with Ryan, but he was able to keep me in line, so to speak. He always does. So turned out pretty good.
I thought it went really well, actually.
Yeah. Let's see what else is happening out there. I know there was a tournament over the weekend. We're going to get to that a little bit later. I got to get a swig of coffee here.
Well, I was seeing a note over here from saying they're wanting to share on Palisades Web WBL. Said we are going to have to adjust some settings, I guess, on our Facebook. He tried to share last week's show, I guess, so we'll have to adjust some settings on that. We'll get that taken care of. Hopefully, we'll get you able to share that stuff for us.
yeah, hopefully you can take care of that because I don't know the first thing about that.
Well, maybe you know the second thing about it. I don't know.
Well, if we can't figure it out, somebody will.
Yeah, absolutely. If we can't figure it out, we'll find somebody that knows something about it, and we'll get it taken care of.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one thing last week, JB, is I had a couple of the shirt of the week, plural. So is that shirts of the week or yeah, that would
It'd be shirts of the week.
shirts of the week in studio that I brought in, and I forgot to display them.
Right. Yeah,
So-
I completely forgot last week also.
So I will bring those back in, and we'll talk those. So before we forget, let's go ahead and knock this
Let's
one
just
out.
go ahead and do it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So this shirt was given to me a long time ago. I don't really remember when I received it. It may have been in Texas at a tournament, but I think it was from Alan Garcia of Wiffle House. If anybody out there can confirm that, shoot us a line on one of our deals, one of our feeds over there, and let me know. But the front of the shirt says "Wiffle Ball is Life," wifflehouse.com. So I believe that was a kid up in Michigan, used to play some ball and run some tournaments and things. And
Yeah.
actually, he, if I remember correctly, he may have been the first guy to ever do podcasting. This was a long time ago.
So like back in the dark ages, that long ago.
Yeah, you remember we were talking about those dark
Yeah,
ages.
absolutely.
Yeah, so,
I do.
Anyway, maybe we get Alan Garcia to tune in sometime if that guy's still kicking. All right, what do you got next, JB?
Well, I was just reading our Facebook lines over here. We got somebody that says, please give the shirt to JB so he can cover up the Cubs logo. We'll talk about shirts of the week here. So as everybody can see, I have my Chicago FD shirt on.
Well, I would read that as Cubs effed.
Actually, no, it's a Chicago Fire Department shirt
Oh,
is what it is. So yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks a lot. So glad to be part of the shirt of the week episode. So
very cool. Can't get enough fire department shirts in studio.
oh yeah.
What happens if we catch on fire? We got all this electronic gadgets burning up electricity.
Well, it's funny you asked that because just outside the studio door, we have people on standby with extinguishers in case that happens. I don't know that it will, but we'll find out.
Yeah, because I sure don't see one in studio. I think we're in violation of some kind of a code.
That's true. I'm not going to say the other comment there from our other listeners. He says, haha, go cards. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just can't support that. Nice try, though. I gave you an honorable mention. So let's see here. Earlier we were talking about some stuff that went on in history.
Yeah.
So I thought I would try to introduce a new segment into the Fast Plastic.
All right, what you got?
How does that work for you?
What?
The today in history type deal. Just
Oh,
a
yeah.
real brief snippet.
Yeah.
So April 18th, 1906, a major earthquake struck San Francisco and set off raging fires. More than 3,000 people died in that quake. Interesting story now. Let's go back. 1775. Paul Revere set out on his ride to warn the colonists the British were coming on this day in 1775. Pretty cool.
That is. That's awesome.
How about 1923? The very first baseball game was played at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. The New York Yankees beating the Boston Red Sox 4-1.
The house that Ruth built.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't know if there's any New York people listening to the show tonight. If you need to know anything about the New York Yankees and Babe Ruth, let me know. I can fill you in.
All right. And the last one I got two more actually. 1942, an air squadron led by Lieutenant Colonel James H. Doolittle performed air raids on Tokyo and other Japanese cities.
Really?
Yeah, that happened today.
I think there was a movie about that.
There was. Yeah.
Starred John Belushi when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And So I'm gonna have to cut this for just a minute here for my the other part. Now for the biggest part that I'm really excited about.
Okay.
Today in wiffle ball history, this is what happened. Let's see if I can get it to work. And it's gonna be slow.
Point well taken.
That was today in wiffle ball history. You know what that is?
Wow.
It means there's no history recorded on wiffle ball.
You're right. If you start looking and looking and looking, there's not a whole lot out there. What is out there is very, very, I don't know. What kind of history is worth recording in this? You guys tell me.
Well, I think, first of all, we're doing a great job of giving some history here to the wiffle ball, the games and the series all over the place. We're talking about it. We're making history as we do every show.
Yeah.
Are we famous or infamous?
I would say we're probably a little bit more on the infamous side.
Well, that's a good possibility.
Yeah.
It's a good possibility. Cut out for our first caller on the line.
All right.
And
cool.
We'll be right. Go ahead and take it, Bill.
Yeah. So JB and I on the air to starting the radio show tonight, the FP Radio Network. Sometimes I get in the studio a little bit early and sit in with JB, and we rock here, and a lot of listeners in on that. Pretty cool. Tend to play some of the older heavy metal, hard rock. So maybe you guys get a little bit bored waiting around for the show. You can always tune in the app, the rock, listen to my radio, whatever3.com. JB can tell you about that later. Line up guests coming in left and right. JB gets it all worked out over there. Got a big kickoff to the season happened over the weekend. We're going to talk a little bit about that, and we got quite a bit of stuff up next couple weeks as well. You guys can keep in touch through the Facebook pages. We got numerous pages. I'm not a big Facebook guy, but The Rock, WROC The Rock, I think has a lot of traffic going through that. Fast Plastic Facebook page, you can go through that and find out what's going on with tournament, which is coming up Columbus Day weekend, Saturday, October 6th. I know there's been a lot of guys talking about that, wondering, is it true? Yes, it's true. It's going to happen. So you start planning now. JB's up there crawling around. Got all kinds of crazy stuff happening.
Never know when gremlins will hit.
Uh-oh. I talked to Jonathan King a couple of times. He's fired up and ready to get the season rolling. Looking at playing outside of Texas. So don't be surprised if a Jonathan King shows up at a tournament near you. When King does something, he goes large. I think for all of you that showed up last October, you can test to how he likes to show and go. Then we were also talking a little bit about, I guess there's a lot of banter currently going on Facebook where guys are going off each other, which is to be expected. That's one thing that's better than anything else, and that's trash talk. So more power to you. So what's going on, JB?
Well, I'm not real sure.
Uh-oh.
I have to figure this out. I don't know what's going on with the phone. It's dead in the water.
Completely dead, huh?
Yes, completely dead.
Wow. Wonder if it has something to do with those chords. Didn't you say you were putting in some new lines or new chords, something like that?
We did, and that's what I'm trying to figure out here. It changed everything. I don't know why it's not a question.
Wow. All right. Well, tonight's show, we got Sean Steffi coming on a little bit later. And then even later, Jim Dalby out in Arizona will be coming on. We're going to talk. Hopefully, we're going to talk. Hopefully, guys, JB can get some stuff worked done. We might have to call in Schneider or whatever the maintenance guy is, whatever his name might be, get things worked out. Pages and notes here. Try to get through. One thing I'll go ahead and talk about a little bit here is coming up on April 21st, Chico, California. There's a fundraising tournament coming up. And it's going to be quite the event. So you guys need to get a hold of Kevin Babs, and he can provide a lot of information for you. I've got some of it here. But anyway, it's a fundraiser for the Chico State Veterans Organization. There's going to be, of course, veterans from military involved, police, fire, and others playing some ball out there. But what's cool about this tournament is Babs has constructed a new stadium, probably the newest stadium in the country, one of the nicest. I think he does that as a profession. He grooms, maintains fields, so he knows what he's doing. I've seen some pictures. Very nice facility. And definitely, if you're out west, especially in the Bay Area, NorCal, this is an event you need to get involved with. You can send an email for information at chicowiffleball@gmail.com. Again, the tournament's going to be April 21st, Chico, California. $60 entry fee per team. And since there's a lot of novice players coming into the event, I think they're putting a pitch speed limit on this. So it'll probably be like a medium pitch type tournament. But with that being said, I can guarantee you there's going to be some pro-style fast pitch tournaments coming to this facility soon. So Babs was a member of the Bamboos, and I've been talking to him quite a bit, and they're wanting to really get it fired back up in NorCal. So that's going to be awesome. And by the way, half of my team resides in NorCal, so I may go out there to play some ball, which would be really cool. I haven't played in California in a long time, and that's probably my favorite place to play other than Cedar Park, Texas, that is. Any updates, JB?
We're working on it, so just hang in there.
All right. Well, guys, if you're still hanging with us, we appreciate it. I'm wondering, we had some big wind storms blowing through here, and maybe it knocked us out. I think he said knocked the internet out earlier. Maybe they will check the lines. Let's see, what else I got on here I can bring up and kill some time. I'm not very good at killing time. Not very good at this. Don't want to get too far ahead of myself. So I can tell you a little bit, if everybody remembers Will Marshall from the Texas team that competed at the Fast Plastic NCT last year. He's actually made it onto a pro ball team playing ball now. You get it lined out?
I got it lined out. I tell you what, gotta love electronics. That's all I can say. So
yeah,
right now we are going to we're going to go to the phone and we're going to talk to Adam Milstead. He's with wiffleballtournaments.com. How you doing, Adam?
I'm doing pretty well tonight, guys. How are you doing?
All right. So you like to be called Millsy? Is that correct? Is that
Yeah, it's a nickname I've had since high school, so it just kind of sticks with me.
Well, cool. So that's what we were calling you last week a little bit. We're talking about Millsy. Okay. So, man, thanks a lot for coming on the show, Millsy. This is something that I'm looking forward to having on as much as possible every week to talk about what you have going on, which is wiffleballtournaments.com. So can you tell us a little bit about that website?
Yeah, so I've been playing as long as you guys, but me and my buddy Ian Crosby, we started playing back in like 2006, 2007, and we started like the Wiffle Up tournament, and we liked to kind of like track which local tournaments were coming around, so we'd have a shot to play at them from year to year, and so we pretty much just had a Word document going, and that was very unorganized. So a few years ago, I was bored one summer and figured I'd try to make things a little more organized and put them all in one spot and get a tournament website to track tournaments from all over the country and even the world, just for, even if not for my own benefit, for people to kind of stumble upon it and be able to find tournaments and spread the word, you know?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that first year had like, I don't know, 1,200 views. And the second year it skyrocketed up to 30,000 views, and it was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it took off like that.
That's huge, man. That's some huge numbers. I don't know about you, but I'm almost to the point now to where I think websites, for the most part, have lost a lot of the pizzazz because of all the social media. So if you're still getting that kind of traffic, that's truly amazing, man. That's awesome. Yeah. So I've been on there several times looking through, trying to find local places where I can go play. And it just amazes me at how many tournaments or leagues are really out there. And, some of them, the page, like for the league or the tournament will be a dead link or something like that. But for the most part, there is a lot going on. I'm curious as to what the process would be for a guy that wants to add his event to your website. What would a guy have to do?
So it's fairly simple. The website, there's a contact page, and I've actually been having a lot of people reach out that way. They'll just fill out the form, send me their info, and we'll start emailing back and forth till I can get all the information I need and put it right up on the site for them.
Yeah, that's great. So what do we have coming up? Can you tell us what's big news coming up here? Let's say in the next week.
Yeah. So for the next week, I wrote a few things down. I stumbled across one league called the Wiffle Ball Association of Northern Kentucky. They call themselves WANK. And I mean, besides a Facebook page with them putting dates up of when they're playing, I haven't been able to find out too much about them. Their YouTube videos, it looks like it's a medium pitch league, but they're opening nights tonight. Then we have this other one. It's called Backyard Rule, and it's down in Florida, and it's run by Nate Fadula, and he hosts anywhere from like 1 week across like all Florida. And his tournaments are yellow bat, medium pitch, run the bases, and he's got a tournament in Miami on Friday. And he's got a tournament in Port St. Lucie on Saturday.
Okay.
After that, I got the AWAA, American Wiffle Ball Association of America. They have leagues in Albany, New York, and Bennington, Vermont. And their pitch speed is determined on which mound you stand on when you throw. Yellow bats and run the bases. And their opening day tournament is in Albany on Sunday. Then I found a Mick Fenway Wiffle Ball League, which is in Portsmouth, Rhode Island. And they're a medium pitch league with yellow bats, and their opening day is next Tuesday, April 24th. And the last one that's notable that I've come up with for the next week is called Wifflemania 2K18. And it's hosted by the Southern Ohio Copperheads baseball team. It's in Athens, Ohio, at the Ohio University campus. And I haven't really been able to find many rules based on the tournament, but I saw that it was open to the public. You had to have at least 8 people on your team, single elimination, and it's only $5 a person. So if you're local to that area, it's worth stopping out just to check it out.
Yeah, what a bargain. What a bargain. But well, that's a pretty good lineup for guys that are looking for some ball. There's a lot of stuff going on, especially if you're in Florida, what it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, me and my buddies, that's pretty much what we do anymore. We'll try to hit some of the bigger ones like Golden Stick or Mid-Atlantic Wiffle, but our favorite thing to do is just find these local no-name charity tournaments. It's just a blast to play in them with everybody and help everyone else learn about the game and teach them some pitches and stuff.
Yeah, so you play on a team called Way Too Beautiful, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And so you've been playing for a few years, and you guys just did Mid-Atlantic tournament, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. It was a good turnout of teams. The competition was unreal.
Yeah. So what's next for you guys? Have you got anything slated?
The only one we're really signed up for is until the middle of August. It's in Sea Isle, New Jersey, and it's one we play in every year. It's like one of our favorites to play in. Other than that, I signed up with the York Yaks to play in the Mid-Atlantic Wiffle League. So that's pretty much the next one I have, and then we'll be keeping our eye out for other ones popping up along the way.
Oh, so you're going to play for the Yaks?
Yeah. They asked me to play for them, and the Way Too Beautiful guys they're not really fast pitch guys. We're more medium pitch based. So they gave it a try this past weekend, and they said that it was cool. So yeah, I'm going to be playing with the Yaks this year.
Well, that's good. That'll keep those guys really competitive. I know the field of talent there in Mid-Atlantic has jumped up a notch or two, so that's good. Glad you joined. Well,
yeah, it sure has.
So are you located, you actually live in New Jersey somewhere?
Yeah, South Jersey, a little town called Barrington. It's about 10 minutes away from Philadelphia.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking that's what I remember hearing. So yeah. Well, anyway, Adam, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy guy to come on and talk. And like I said, JB and I really would like to get you on here each week and give you an opportunity to talk about wiffleballtournaments.com. And hopefully we can send a lot of guys your way.
Perfect. I appreciate it. And I look forward to next week.
Sounds good, man. You have a good evening.
Have a good one, Adam.
You too. All right. Have a good one. See ya.
All right. Well, got the Gremlins worked out, and a lot of updates there from Millsy about some tournaments going on.
Yeah, he's on the ball, man. He is on the ball. Like I said, get on his website, wiffleballtournaments.com. It's nothing, no super graphics or anything like that. It's just basic information, which is all you need.
I thought it was kind of, what was the name of that Kentucky team?
Yeah.
The Wanks.
It's a league. Western.
It was the Wank. Is what he said. The Wanks. Yeah, Wanks. I don't know.
Wank.
That's kind of interesting. I don't know.
Well, when you're back over there in Western Kentucky or wherever it is visiting your family, maybe you ought to check them out, JB.
Well, I guess I could do that. Yeah, absolutely. So
they probably know a thing or two about rock throwing down that way.
Yeah. I mean, most of my relatives are missing their teeth from rock throwing. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. So what was the issue? I'm curious. What was the issue?
I really don't know. I just basically reset the phone system is what I had to do. So I don't know if the internet outage earlier today had something to do with it or not. But we're running real tight on schedule. So I'm going to go ahead and get our next caller on the line here. So
yeah, we're actually looking pretty good because I covered some ground while you were over there troubleshooting. So let's go ahead and bring on our next guest. So our next guest is a really good guy. A lot of you guys know who he is. You've heard of him. You probably played against him. I had a chance to play with him last year. Just a good guy, man. We need more players around the country like our next guest. So one of the things that I like to talk about with this guy is he reminds me of Kevin Bacon. So as we're conducting this interview, take note. Is this so you got him online, JB?
I do have him online, and we currently have on the phone all the way from New York City. Is he a myth? Is he a legend? I don't know, but we have Jordan. Is it Rubles? I don't know.
Jordan Robles.
Roblers.
Yeah,
All right.
Turn it
Good
down
deal.
different ways.
Hey, Jordan.
How you guys
So, yeah, we're doing great, man. That was one of going to be my first questions for you. Is I know some guys out in California that pronounce it Robles, and I wanted to get it straight. So you prefer, or you
Yeah.
pronounce it Robles?
Robles, almost like the S is a Z. But I mean, growing up in school, I've heard it a million different ways. So nothing really surprises me now.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's good to know. So I was just talking about how you sound a lot like Kevin Bacon. You know who Kevin Bacon is?
Oh, yeah. Big
Yeah.
time actor.
You do, man. You sound a lot like him. So, is there such a thing as a voice doppelganger? I don't know. But if there is, you and Kevin Bacon.
Hey, if Kevin Bacon gets hit by a taxi or struck by lightning, come to me for his voice acting work. I'd be more than glad to do it and rake in those millions.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, there may be a future
that
there.
worked out nice. Yep.
Well, I wanted to bring you on tonight, Jordan, because I was also saying, you're a great player. Everybody knows who you are. And, man, you are on a roll so far here in 2018. You just played in Mid-Atlantic Wiffle's opening tournament. And imagine that. You won. Your team won. So,
got lucky a little bit.
yeah. So how's that feel, man? What is that, 2 tournaments already this year?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to win the winter tournament with the McElrath brothers, which was another great tournament, tons of great competition. But winning this one felt even better. The Naturals, which was an unknown team, it was their first tournament in a kind of well-known competition. They beat a lot of good guys. They beat Connor Young and Ben Stant. So I kind of felt like the mood around the field was that people wanted to see me lose, and people were just interested to see what would happen in the finals. So to kind of shut some people up, to get a W and start the year off with a tournament win, so really great. And to play new competition, that's why I drive everywhere and anywhere to face the best quality teams, to face new guys that I haven't seen before. So to face new guys, come out on top against a very great team. Those guys really hit the ball, former D1 players, so it felt really good.
Well, great, man. So I was saying earlier when I was talking to Millsy, I think the Mid-Atlantic guys, the Cook brothers and Shirey, I think they've upped their game a bit from last year, right? As far as running the tournament,
Oh, yeah.
the logistics.
Martin the league, I'd say, just to track the best competition. So as you can see, this Virginia team came out of nowhere and they made the finals. They're a real tough team. So but thanks to Shirey for letting us use his backyard. The Cook brothers do so much work behind the scenes, and they're finally seeing the competition and just the turnout increasing, which is great for the game.
Yeah, it was pretty competitive last year. I made a couple trips there. You and I played on the championship team together, and it was pretty competitive. But from what I've seen so far, man, it was quite an impressive tournament. And I can say that I think it's just going to get tougher as the year goes on. So are you prepared for that, Jordan?
I love the competition. That's why I love to play the game. That's why I travel to Texas. I'm a Whipple psychopath. I want to face the best quality of teams. If I could play Cloud9 every weekend, I would do it. Facing good competition, it's only going to make you better. I don't give a shit if someone's a super team or not a super team. I'm going to lace them up, and I want to piece of that team.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's how I was when I was your age. How old are you? Tell all our listeners.
I'm 23.
23.
So I'm young, but I'm old in Whipple years. I've got a lot of years on the arm.
Yeah. Well, how many innings did you pitch? That's a true sign of youth.
I got lucky, so we signed Baby Sarno, a.k.a. Red, which kind of helped me out and have a Dick Schaefer. So I only threw the semis and the finals, which came out to about 9 innings. So, I'm used to throwing like 15, looking up to guys like Joel DeRoche, Josh Pagano, where you give them the ball and they're going to take to the championship. I kind of want to be one of those guys. So just give me the ball in a big tournament, big situation. I'll throw until my arm falls off or we win a championship. And thankfully, I didn't need to throw more than 9. 9 got the job done.
Yeah, that's great, man. You weren't even loose 9 innings.
Yeah,
Yes.
It hurt a little bit. I woke up on Monday. It was not, my right arm is here, but it wasn't really too good operationally. It was a little bit sluggish.
Yeah. Was Sarno before Did you know Clint?
Yeah, I played with Sarn. I want to say dating all the way back to 2011 for Showdown. So my first ever tournament in Golden Stick, I played with the dad. So as the years progressed, I ended up meeting younger Sarno. I knew he was a great guy. He was kind of local to Mid-Atlantic, so it made sense. Being that I knew the competition was going to increase, so to combat that, I figured that we need another arm, and thankfully he stepped in, and he got us a very big win in the first game when we played My Name is Earl. That was a rematch of the championship game that you played in, and we won that 1-0, big hit by Tim Cook, but that was a pool play game 1 matchup, which is a rematch of the championship. Earl didn't even make it out of pool play, so the competition in Mid-Atlantic is increasing tremendously, and I'm sure, like you said, as the year goes on, it's going to get better.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's good to hear Old Man Cook picking up the load and bringing.
Oh yeah, and Paul got a big hit in the finals too. So the Cook brothers on and off the field getting the job done.
Excellent. Well, you said something makes me feel old, Jordan. Thanks a lot for that. You said you got to play against the dad or with the dad, meaning Sarno's dad. Well,
yep. Yeah, 2010 I met him.
Yeah, wow. Well, I had many battles against the dad back in the day. Matter of fact, we went head-to-head in the national championship game in 2002. So Sarno, he was a hell of a player back in his day, man. So anyway,
he still is. Guy can still hit.
Good to see second generation getting out and playing some ball. So what's coming up next for you? We were talking about Millsy and what he's got. What about you?
Yeah, so coming up, we got Palisades WBL opening day, April 29th. So that should be very interesting. Palisades, one of the better-known, most prominent leagues in fast pitch across the country. So looking forward to that. And then I've got yard stuff and other Mid-Atlantic wiffle ball tournaments. But, I mean, I want to give a big thanks to Millsy because his website allows guys like me where I'll play anywhere and everywhere. Any tournaments that I see through the website, if there's a cash prize, I'm more than likely you're going to see me there. So make life a lot easier for me.
Yeah, it's a great resource. So it's a lot of work to try to manage something like that. I used to do that way back in the day with an old friend of mine, Jerome Coyle. He used to run the Wiffle Ball Network, and it had what we called the tournament tracker. Excuse me. Now, I mean, at any given time, there could have been 200, 300 tournaments or leagues on that thing. So it's a lot of work. So.
Yeah, you know, it's not that easy. I'm very thankful for the guys that do the work off the field, behind the scenes in terms of getting the field, doing the stats, making the videos. For the guys like me that just show up and play, some people may not be as appreciative, but I'm always thankful for everyone that does all the work behind the scenes, the John Kings of the world, you know what I mean? The Billy Owens of the world. Guys do a lot behind the scenes, and you guys deserve all the props you can get.
Hey, so how many home runs did you hit out of the ballpark out up there in Pennsylvania?
I only got one. You know, I had a little more of a Giancarlo Stanton start to the year, I would say. You know, I hit one. I hit a ton of MVP, but unfortunately that didn't translate to the tournament. But I hit one home run in the semis. Finals, I got a couple walks. But, you know, I'm trying to break out of that Giancarlo start and move more to like an Aaron Judge start. But we'll see April 29th. Hopefully I get on the right page.
You'd probably be better off if you tried being something other than a New York Yankee. How about a Cub?
Yeah, you know, I mean, if I followed the Cubs, I would think of a guy, but unfortunately, I've been stuck watching these dreadful Yankees. So, you know, more Mike Stanton. I'll call him Giancarlo when he starts hitting the ball consistently. If I could not hit like Mike Stanton, that'd be great.
Well, Jordan, I plan on having you on an episode later on once we get a little bit more into the season and spend a lot of time picking your brain about this great sport. So tonight, you know, it's just a check-in with you, and we really appreciate you coming on, man.
No, thank you for having me. If you guys ever need a guy I love to talk with, I'm thankful. I can say that I'm playing Fast Plastic. I look forward to playing in Frisco next October. And any team out there, I don't want to hear nothing about super teams. Lace them up. Go try and win some cash. I want to see you in Frisco.
Very good. All right, man. Well, you have a good evening.
Yeah, have a good one.
All right. Kevin Bacon. No, that's great player, great guy, Jordan Robles.
He does sound a whole lot like Kevin Bacon. Maybe we get him to do some liners for us here at 93.5 The Rock.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad thing either. That's not an insult.
No, not at all.
That's a
Not
good
at
thing.
all.
Like there's a guy we were talking, Troop Brinson, the guy down in Georgia. People say he looked a lot like Tommy Lee Jones. So
Interesting. So while you were talking with Jordan there, I just want to throw something up. Thomas Rome, you know Thomas Rome.
Thomas Rome.
You know,
No.
he's watching on Facebook right now. He sent a link. I want to throw this out. This is something close and dear to my heart, and it's a good cause. The 14th annual Wiffle for Cancer tournament, benefiting the Nick Curry Fund for Ewing Sarcoma Research. Sunday, June 10th, 2018, 12 noon check-in begins at 11:30 a.m. at Ridgewood High School. I posted the link on our Facebook page, WROC The Rock. I think it's going for it's a really good cause. If you go to the page, the cool thing at the bottom, they've raised $210,000 so far. They've played 1,800 games and had over 500 teams.
And where is that? What state would that be?
I don't know. Let me do some research here.
Maybe our listeners could probably go to wiffleballtournaments.com and find some information. Or what was this gentleman's name again?
Thomas Rohn.
Thomas Rohn. Go to wiffleballtournaments.com and get that tournament listed.
Absolutely.
Man, that's huge.
It's a great cause.
So, yeah, Jordan, man, you talk about a heck of a player. He came down to Texas. That kid's got an NCT championship somewhere in his future. I guarantee it.
Well, that's it sounds like he's very eager. He likes the game. He wants to play, and he's willing to play anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah, definitely. I want to talk a little bit about upcoming shows.
Upcoming shows. That's a good topic.
Next week, we got a very good show lined up. There's a guy that you may have heard of and a guy you maybe have not heard of coming on. And as well as maybe a cast of thousands. We know Millsy will be back on.
Absolutely.
But this guy, this Frenchman, Louis Levesque, will be coming on next week to talk some Golden Stick.
Update. Thomas Rohn says that tournament's in New Jersey.
New Jersey. All right, get out to Jersey and support that cause, guys. Again, next week, Lou Levesque, Golden Stick coming on. We'll talk about some the yard league that Lou's running these days. Some pretty competitive stuff up there. And Lou and I will probably talk about some old stories and things like that. I know there's one story he always likes to talk about. Him and I hooked up in Texas and called it like battle at the barn, I think is what he coined it. But anyway, Lou Levesque coming on next week. And then a guy many of you have not heard of. I would say 99.99% of you have not heard this name.
JB?
No.
Oh, well, I tried.
Christopher Schrock. Have you ever heard of him?
I've never heard of him, no.
Well, put it this way. Everybody should have heard of him. A while ago, you mentioned that, what was it? This today in wiffle ball history, right?
Right.
Well, there's a little bit of wiffle ball history there with Christopher Schrock. And then there's also some other information. But anyway, guys, it's going to be a very interesting interview with Christopher Schrock. And, of course, Lou Levesque. It's always interesting. So be sure you tune in next week for those. That's going to be great. All right, JB, update me. What's happening?
Update you. Currently, it's 45 after the hour. And I'm gonna do a on-the-fly phone call.
Oh, okay.
All right. I think all of our listeners will get a kick out of this, and this is something that we're working on. That I brought to your attention earlier, or you brought to my attention. I don't remember who brought it to whose attention, but anyhow, go ahead. I mean, you're pointing your pen. You know you want to say something.
Well,
so
I kind of piqued everyone's interest with the interviews, the guys coming on the show next week. I think I probably should take it one step further.
Go ahead.
Christopher Schrock. Everybody's like, who the hell's Christopher Schrock? He is a 2-time consecutive national champion coming on the show.
Gotcha.
All right. So there you go, guys.
All right. So now we're going to do a call here on the fly, live. There's the dial tone. Woo, that's loud. Yeah. You may have seen this on our Facebook page. Wiffle Boys Pizza.
Thank you for the Wiffle Boys. How can we help you?
Hey, Wiffle Boys Pizza, correct?
Yes, sir.
Hey, my name is JB, and I've got Billy O here with me. We're calling from the Fast Plastic Radio Network, the home of Wiffle Ball. And we found it really intriguing that you guys have a pizza place called Wiffle Boys. Can you tell us a little bit about your pizzeria?
Sure, I'll get the manager for you just a second.
That'll be great.
Awesome.
Thank you. All right. Well, we're going to be on hold for just a minute while the manager comes on so we can talk to him live on the air.
Do we have elevator music? On hold music?
No, not really.
JB, man, you're dropping the ball over there.
I know. But it's pretty cool. The manager's going to get on the phone with us, though.
Yeah, that's actually really good. We're going to try to work in a sponsor here, man.
Absolutely. See if we get free pizza during the show for plugging them or something. I don't know.
No, I think it's great, though, that somebody's doing this, just tying it into pizza somehow.
Absolutely. I just wonder if he hung up on us.
They may have, man. They may have thought it was a scam.
I think he hung up on me. Honestly, I do.
Oh, no.
Huh. Well, you know what? We will, we'll try again our next show. It was worth a shot, right?
Yes. I mean, next time we call, they're going to know right off. But I wonder if the manager, if he went in and reported to the manager and said, hey, boss, we have two guys say they're on a radio show talking about wiffle ball and wanted to talk to you. And he's like, to hell with them. Hang up.
You never know. He may have read about wiffle ball history today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened today in this day in wiffle ball history?
Nothing.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we tried. What can I say? Wiffle Boys Pizza. 2 locations here in Southern Illinois: Murfreesboro, Illinois, and Anna, Illinois. Jackson County, Murfreesboro, Illinois, and Union County is Anna, Illinois. So if you're in the area, check them out. They actually have really good pizza. I've had their pizza before. It's actually pretty good. So I thought I'd just throw that out there. It is on our WROC, The Rock Facebook page. We have a link for them. Check them out. Go in there and give them some feedback. Tell them they need to be on our show.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get them on here. I guarantee it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So what do we got up next here, Billy?
Well, I think we're getting about the time where you need to get on the horn and bring in Sean Steffi.
Sean Steffi. Okay,
I think so.
We'll get that taken care of.
Have I got time to run to the head?
Well, yeah, you can.
I drank like 7 cups of coffee.
Well, how about we just take a short break real quick, and we'll be right back on 93.5 The Rock.
You're listening to the Fast Plastic Radio Network. Fast Plastic Radio Network.
Hi, Gordon. What you been up to? Big things, Fred. I'm a full-time student at bartending college. Wow. I never had time for a formal education. Well, I decided to make time, but it's not easy. Bartending college is a 4-week course. Gee, how far along are you? Well, let's see. This is Tuesday, the 3rd week. Hey, I'm a junior, and I'm late for a daiquiri lecture. Why don't you join me? Why not?
Bartending College.
You've already spent enough time on the other side of the bar to qualify for enrollment.
Bartending College.
We'll teach you everything you need to know. You'll get a starter set of bartenders' jokes like, so I says to the guy, you can stay, but the cow's got to go.
Bartending College.
You'll learn how to roll drunks, water the liquor, and skim the cash register. And remember, as the bartender, you drink for free. Last call for integrity.
Do you know there are only 44 sounds in the English language? When you learn these 44 sounds, you can read and spell almost everything. It's James Brown's Phonics. We've set these 44 sounds to music, making learning to read simple and fun. Learn these 44 sounds, and you'll be getting on the good foot, just like the godfather of soul. James Brown's Phonics. Call 1-800. That's 1-800.
FP Radio Network.
And we're back on the FP Radio Network. I'm JB alongside Billy O. And we have Sean Steffi on the line from Pennsylvania. Sean, are you on?
I'm here, JB. I'm here, Bill. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Very good, Sean. Thanks for coming on tonight.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is Sean Steffi, the Fast Plastic Texas Open 2017 MVP. How's that sound to hear that?
It sounds great. It looks even better here on my wall. That plaque you got me, it's beautiful, and I'm really honored to be that MVP for this year, or for last year, I should say. Praying for this year. We'll see.
Uh-oh. I think, did you just jinx yourself with that one right there?
I'm knocking on wood, and I think we're fine.
All right, yeah. Watch that one. Yeah, so we had teammate of yours on a couple, when was it? That was like a month ago, 2 months ago. I don't even remember. Ed Packer came on and talked a little bit about the tournament, and was wanting to put off having you on here until we had things in line. So I think it's going to be a pretty good interview. I know everybody around the country is dying to hear what you have to say. So I got a few questions. I usually try to write up a few questions that I feel are important and can bring out some info that everybody wants to hear. But I'm curious, you've been playing for a while now, like competitively. What was the first year you really started playing competitively?
2009, that last year for you with Fast Plastic was my first real competitive year. Baltimore region, and then just that Texas tournament.
Yeah.
In October.
So what is that? 8 years now. So of those 8 years you played, what are, in your opinion, the 5, what I'll call grandest tournaments that you played in?
Grandest, as in like best quality tournaments, or the tournaments I enjoyed, do you think maybe? Would that be okay? The 5 that I kind of enjoyed the most?
Yeah, whichever you think are the greatest tournaments that you've participated in.
That's the thing. I did enjoy that year in Texas, that 09 year, my rookie year. 29 teams in attendance. That wasn't the traditional 32-team format, but it was still better than anything I had experienced to that time. And truthfully, even though the weather was horrible, it was just an incredible atmosphere. So that's on my list for sure. That's top 3 maybe out of those 5. This last one here in Texas and Frisco in 2017, that was a really good tournament, not just because of the results, but Tim ran a great tournament. You did a lot behind the scenes. I know Jonathan King did a lot behind the scenes, and it was a pleasure to be involved in that. That's probably top 3 as well. There was a Wiffle Fest tournament in 2010 that I know not a lot of people were at, but was really well run. And it was the first time I played with my now current teammate, Kevin Norris, and that was a good time. That's probably in the top 5 as well. I'd say my first tournament in that Baltimore region in 09 was a great tournament. Taught me a lot about the game. I could probably write a book about that tournament in terms of just how much I learned from my first real competitive experience. And in Baltimore, it's always such a relaxed atmosphere down there in the flatlands, home of the A team. And then probably the 5th one, I know medium pitch isn't popular amongst a ton of guys, but I mean, the year my team won the medium pitch tournament in New York for Golden Stick, that was a lot of fun. That'd probably be my 5th. Just a really good feel to it. Close atmosphere. I've only had 2 major victories in that sense, and both have been celebrated with beer, not champagne. So must be a tradition with me.
Well, I know King likes to say we drink beer in Texas, therefore you celebrate with beer. But I think for next year we're gonna have beer and champagne ready to go.
Oh wow!
Maybe like Lone Star or Shiner Box or something.
That's the beer my teammates bought when we went to Texas in 09. They're like, we need a Texas beer. And we went to the cash register, and she said, you want Lone Star? My dad drinks that.
Yeah. It's the national beer of Texas.
Is it?
It is. Yeah, it definitely is. Huh. So if I remember correctly, I'm sorry to interrupt, but if I remember correctly, you also played in tournaments that Blue running for Golden Stick. You got to the championship, and the games were played at night, and the lights went out, and that was a pretty bad deal for you, right? Yeah, not bashing the tournament, but I mean that was just something that could have been a lot more spectacular, so to speak, if the lights would have been on, and maybe you would have won, maybe not, who knows? But I do remember seeing a video about that. And, how did that feel? I mean, you go into that thinking you could win that one-on-one tournament?
didn't know. And I mean, that was a weekend of wiffle ball. It was a real extravaganza weekend. We had what they would call fast pitch finals, 3-4 teams battling it out on Friday. And then Saturday was the medium for 4 teams battling it out. And then at least one. I hadn't planned on participating in that at all, but Lou talked me into doing it today. He said, hey, this is $100. You'll get a t-shirt, you'll get a hat, point up. And that was the year they had 2 formats. So you could, they had 2 different mounds on the field. You could throw either format, just provide the bat for your opponent. I played fast pitch all the way through and, hit a home run in just about every game I played. Pretty good competition. And it did get late, but no one ever talks about the skill shown by my opponent, Dallas Mall. He was out all night enjoying the Vegas scenery, so to say. And then he just showed up on no sleep and won the medium pitch side of things all the way through, and I won the fast pitch side of things all the way through. Now, the one thing I do kind of regret on my side, we could have just split the winnings there and said, he's the medium pitch champ, I'm the fast pitch champ. But me being a young kid, I know I wanted to try test my mettle against the absolute best. And although I was winning going into the last inning when the lights went out, I mean, I'm the one who didn't hit the strike zone after field or not. I should have hit the strike zone. But that's how it is. You live and learn. For me, for instance, that taught me something about cool down and about time in between innings and how to properly stay warm and comfortable so that you can continue pitching if you want to do that. So it was an experience. I don't think I would recommend 1v1 play again. It's a little personal, and not only is it personal, it's all about kind of not being predictable because there's only one opponent and they're only throwing one style of pitches. So if you can vary your delivery, vary multiple things, you'll do well in that format. But I prefer the team game now.
Yeah, I agree. I thought a lot about playing in some one-on-one back years ago, and I never really did. But you said something, though, that you're thinking about settling or split hot and calling it a day. I'm glad you didn't do that because I despise that. I've been involved in some tournaments over the years where the 2 teams advancing to the championship game have decided to do that and not even play the game. I'm like, why in the hell are you even here? So a lot of the rules that were originally built for the USPPVA and then Fast Plastic were because of that scenario. But so, like I stated, bringing you on, you are the reigning MVP for Fast Plastic. Well-deserved, hell of a performance. Also, you are the reigning champion. Your team, Cloud9, knocked off, remember the rookies, Pagano, Matty Griffin, Haverty, and Evan. Great game. Had front row seat for that game. Did you know that?
I thought I saw you in the crowd, but I was a little focused on trying to throw strikes, so I'm glad to hear you were there.
Yeah, so I know looking back in 2007, GSW won the national championship. I was on that team, and for the next week after that tournament, I probably received, and I'm lowballing this, probably 100 texts, emails, phone calls, guys that I would never expect to hear from, just saying, man, congratulations, great job, Did you get any of that for winning this tournament?
In terms of response, yes and no. I think it's a little bit different in this day and age because social media is so prevalent. Just a couple buttons or a couple taps away from saying hello to the world. So I did think immediately after it happened, I was like really happy because I didn't have to focus on the game anymore and I could relax and enjoy the results. So I think I put out a Facebook post and I sent the same text message to a bunch of different people who had been following me kind of, on my journey, and I knew they would like to know the moment I won. So I don't think I got an outpouring of people proactively, seeking me out and telling me good job, but I did get a ton of interactions there that evening into the next couple days from people, who followed up and said, hey, how did you do? Or I remember one of my former teammates was not upset at me, but surprised that it took me a week to follow up with him and let him know that I won, but it was just so exciting, and there were so many interactions elsewhere. And one thing I did that I really enjoyed, the moment I got back to Pennsylvania, I printed out my favorite photos and I had put a note on the back and sent them to all my former coaches, all the former people that kind of helped me get to that point. Because I like to remember those people, because if you invest in me along the way, I want to kind of share in whatever success I can have. So I know my best friend, his family, my family, my high school coach, those sorts of people usually get a message from me.
Yeah, that's very nice. Not many people do that these days. But by you telling me that you didn't get a whole lot of interaction like that, that tells me I've got to do a better job. I got to get with Jonathan King. We have to do a better job at promoting this event, making more and more players aware of how important it is to win a tournament like this, so that you do get bombarded with hundreds of emails. Now, what's the primary form of being contacted these days? Text messages, I guess, but then anyway, I get what I'm saying. We really got to push this tournament better, bigger, stronger, faster, whatever it takes. And I think we're on the right path right now. But it definitely was a monumental effort on your behalf and the entire Cloud9 team. I mean, it was some rough conditions out there. There was a lot of wind. There was a threat of storms blowing through the area. We didn't get the rain like they were calling for, but the wind was huge. For a pitcher, most of the time, the wind's right in your face. And I know for me personally, that's one thing that I hate. It can just burn your arm out, and you can even get injured. But for you, not so much. I didn't see you really struggle a whole lot with that. And that would lead me to believe that maybe you had a lot of experience throwing into the wind. Any truth to that?
Yeah, definitely. Like every tournament I went to from 2009 on, I kind of took note of wind conditions, and certain tournaments were more difficult than others, and certain adjustments have to be made. You know that as a player, especially as a pitcher, you have to be really aware of the wind when you're throwing a ball that only weighs a couple ounces. So, and I can't take all the credit here. I know before our championship game, probably the ace pitcher, or what would be considered to be the ace pitcher from Bad Wiffle Chemistry, BWC was their name, and David Wegerson, he came up to me and said, "Hey, we just got done playing on this field. Your brother's on, my brother's on your team. I want you guys to win. Just so you know, it's a really strong wind in your face. You might want to consider, rescoring a ball a little lightly. Not as heavy, not as rough, just very light." And I remember even after the championship, you came up to me and looked at the ball I was using, or maybe it was a day or so later, and you said, "I like this ball. This isn't bad, Sean. These are light scores. This is more what I was thinking." So that adjustment I owe to him. He warned me ahead of time, and I was able to prepare accordingly. But I noticed, just even when we set up those fields the day before, and I was there checking them out, there was a strong wind blowing out from the home plate of the baseball field itself, which means wind in the face if you're playing on a championship field, more of a slider or a crosswind on the field in left field, and more of a screwball wind on the field in right. And we were lucky enough to play our quarterfinal and semifinal game in that right field area, meaning I got to throw lots of screwballs. And then in the championship game, lots of drops, lots of risers. Screwball still works, I find, with a headwind like that blowing directly into your face. But what really benefited me, I find, is that I throw pretty hard. So, I mean, for me to go down from 98 to 88 isn't as big of a deal. But for someone who only throws 90-something or, high 80s in the first place, to drop 10 miles per hour because the wind's in their face, you can watch the live stream. And I remember Kevin Norris, after the first inning, walked up to Rob, who was filming it, and he said, "Oh, this guy, Josh Pagano, he's throwing a little slower than what we expected after our semifinal match, because the wind was different. It was more difficult throwing into that wind. I'm just lucky that I can throw the speed that I currently throw."
Yeah, I mean, you did really well. And for those of you that may not be familiar with the level of play that Sean and I are talking about at this tournament, I mean, these are the very best hitters in the sport, period, especially on that team. Pagano, Evan, Griffin, and Haverty. These guys, they've been playing for years. Maybe not Haverty so much, but the other guy's been playing for a long time. These guys have seen every pitch, every pitcher in every condition. And for you to go out there and, I mean, they scored on you, but, you still shut them down pretty well. And for you to come out of that out of that game with the victory was very impressive in that headwind. So that alone was deserving of the MVP award, in my opinion. So just a great job. So, so you're no stranger to, wind and bad weather. And we were talking a little bit earlier about the 2009 NCT in Austin, where we had just horrific conditions. I'd kind of like to talk to you a little bit about that, because that was sort of your coming out party, so to speak, with being introduced on the national level against the very best players in the country. And I can recall seeing you throw, and everybody was saying, "Oh yeah, that's that kid. That's the kid over there. That's the kid." Yeah. So do you mind? You want to talk a little bit about that experience in that tournament and what you saw and how that shaped your playing career, so to speak?
Sure. Yeah. And I don't know if you remember, Bill, but I did end up meeting you there. I think it was maybe Sunday morning before the games commenced or whatever. It was rough weather. It was rainy. It was wet. Tim Dean did a great job that year running the tournament, but I know it was difficult for him because of the weather, and he had some sort of a connection with the fields that we were playing on. He wanted to protect those. It was a difficult situation, and I remember, although it was my first national tournament, it was extremely well handled, considering the difficult situation. The main shock that year, from what I remember, was everyone expected Remember the Name to do super well. They picked up another player in the off season, and then they didn't do as well as everyone expected. And my team had qualified out of the Baltimore region that year, and Tom Locasio immediately, in a very kind way, put a target on our backs. He picked us to win the tournament, which was in a way absurd because I was our only pitcher, really. But we had a good time, enjoyed. I think we went 2-1 in our round robin group, and it was cool because Pagano was in our group with he had just renamed from the rookies to the Phenoms. And he was in our round robin group. So the one I pitched the 2 other round robin games, won those, and then we chose to throw our number 2 at that time. So we went 2-1 in round robin. I threw 2 more games on Saturday, went 4-1 on the day. Came back the next day versus 603, and that went 16 innings back and forth. We had to move halfway through because of the weather. And I remember flying back to Pennsylvania with my team, with my people, and they told me, you threw enough that we could have, but it's only a Sweet 16 appearance, but it's pretty good for a first year. And all in all, I was just happy to be a part of it, to get to meet you guys, to see everyone, to see the tremendous effort put forth by 603 and Phenoms to get to the finals. They beat out some really good competition to get there, including myself. And I think at that time I was just so young and so happy to be there that I was learning a lot just by being around everyone. So it was a really valuable experience for me.
It was a 603 game where I finally had a break in action, and I came over and watched, and there were quite a few guys standing around watching you throw. And that's when they were all saying, yeah, this is the kid, he throws hard. And a lot of guys, we'll get him, whatever. We'll take him down. But evidently that 16 inning game, I wasn't aware it went 16 innings. That's actually, that sucks, man, to have to play that many innings in one game. So, but then after that, so you guys, that was the elimination game, right? The 16 inning game versus 603. You lose. Did you hang out and watch the rest of the tournament after that, or did you guys pack it in and head to the hotel and get warm? And
yeah, I'm not sure if you remember. I think we were about 8 or 9 innings into our Sweet 16 game that Sunday morning. And usually Sweet 16 is played late at night under the lights, but there was another extra inning game between In the Box and another really good team. I think it was Usual Suspects, actually. Those two teams were going at it. It was Nord versus Wood, and that game went late. And that's why Sweet 16 was bumped to Sunday morning. We were about 8, 9 innings in. I'd given up my first real, maybe not first run, but second real run of the tournament off a home run to Don's ball. We tied it up 1-1, and then they moved us to this awesome permanent wiffle ball field, which I didn't even know those things existed, but it had concrete batter's boxes, concrete mound in Texas. There was a layover, of course, a couple hours layover. I got warmed up again. We continued in the 10th inning. It went another 4 or 5 or whatever, but I just couldn't hang on at that point, I think I was about 35 innings in, and I just couldn't get warm again, and it was difficult. So that was it. 603 advance. They still had Leahy, who was pretty fresh, and I believe he threw championship. And it was, it was an experience, that's for sure.
Yeah, that was crazy, man. Those permanent fields there that you were talking about, as far as I know, those still exist and are being used for league play. And I think Tim Dean still maybe runs a tournament or two down there. But those were his brainchild. He was the one that got the county there and the township. Well, I believe it's the county to build those, but they were pretty nice. Black vinyl coated chain link fence. So yeah, very cool. And it was like a prime setting in this little park right off, in a nice neighborhood and right off a main street there. So it had a lot of exposure. And when I was living in Texas, I got to play down there on those fields a couple times. But talking about that tournament, it brings back a lot of bad memories. And honestly, a lot of that I blocked out, and I've forgotten, a lot of these events. And so when I'm talking to guys that actually played there, and I'm asking these questions, it's helping me remember some of those bad memories. So, all right, big question here. So,
okay,
as I've stated now several times, you're the reigning MVP, and that means that your name is carved in stone alongside guys like Chad Anderson, Jim Ballion, Chuck Hensley, Joe Nord, Evan Lazure, Stoop, Pat Leahy, who you just spoke of, and Steve Trippus. What's that mean to you? How's that make you feel?
Oh, it's definitely an honor. I didn't expect it. I thought it was going to go to our number three in the lineup hitter, but definitely best hitter in the championship, seeing as how he batted like 760 or 750 and hit 2 home runs. I thought Tyler Wegerson was going to get it because he had I did the stats for our team later, calculated up our averages. He batted around 250, 260 in round robin going in. But then once he got to semifinals and finals, he just turned it on, scored our first run, and we ended up winning 2-0 in the semis. And then he hit 2 home runs off Pagano in the finals. I thought he was going to get it, but naturally, I'm honored to be considered an MVP and to receive that award and to be amongst those players. They're all incredible people, some of which I'm still learning about, like Chuck Hensley. He's the stuff of legends. And so, yeah, extremely honored. But at the same time, I didn't realize how valuable, the more you mention it, I was so focused that day on just throwing strikes, getting to the next pitch, getting to the next out, getting to the next inning, that not that I didn't get to enjoy the experience as much, but I wanted a certain outcome. I was focused on that outcome. My team helped me achieve that. And as a result, I stopped looking in regards to how I was contributing. And come to think of it, the wind was difficult. Throwing into that was difficult. I mean, there were times you can watch the live stream pitch by pitch and see, I think there was one inning I walked the bases loaded and then pitched out of it, which, I mean, as difficult as it was, Josh was right there doing the same exact thing, pitching around, hitting spots. It's just an honor to be an MVP and I only hit the home run. I hit 1 home run in the championship. I didn't bat over really well. I think I batted 350 or 340, lots of singles, lots of walks. And to win the MVP without a major offensive contribution similar to that of Tyler is it's a blessing and an honor. And I'm thankful to have the plaque on my wall. That's incredible.
Very well deserved, definitely. And just to elaborate a bit more on the pitching performance. So, like I said, I had the front row seat for the game, and it was an overwhelming offering of screwballs that you were throwing because that was the pitch that worked because of the wind. So, all right, so yeah, no big deal. Throw a bunch of screwballs, but whenever you're facing the very best hitters, and you keep throwing the same pitch over and over and over, and you're able to defeat them, you're throwing a screwball, but you're mixing up that screwball. Maybe you're taking a little off. Maybe you're throwing, location a little bit further outside, a little bit further in, up, down. That's what it takes at that level, and you were able to do that. So that's what's so impressive about it.
And the fact that you recognize that, Bill, is exactly the same reason why I love chatting with you any chance I get, because you get it. You understand, as an ace pitcher, because you've been there and you've won tournaments and you've, performed at the highest level, how difficult it can be to mix in that way. And it's incredible that I was able to do that, yes, but also that you pick up on that and that other ace pitchers look at that and go, wow, that is pretty incredible. And it's not all skill, I would say. Some of it is luck, some of it is chance, some of it is just guessing based on the hitter's tendencies and knowing the hitters. It helps that I've faced Matt a couple times and I've faced Josh a couple times. Like I said, Josh and Evan were in my round robin group in 2009 when they won. So it was kind of a coming of age thing for me.
Yeah. So you talked about your teammates, and the role they played. So your team chemistry is just outstanding. I know you kind of wanting to talk about this, and I think it's very important. Last week when I was talking to Ryan DeRoche, he touched on this about how that's vital. If you don't have an understanding of what each player's role is and what they're capable of, then you don't have much of a chance to win anything. You guys, on the other hand, seem to know exactly, what it is that you're out there to do, and you execute. Can you talk a little bit about that, about each guy, his role, and that's a very interesting aspect of this to me.
Sure. I mean, I could talk about my team all day, but I think I'd rather just try and give you guys a good insight as to where we came from and kind of how we operate now and how we all fell into our own kind of roles, which is really unique, I find, because a lot of players who weren't in Texas or weren't there that know all of us might say, oh, they're just four really talented players. But that's not it. And I was talking to my one teammate, Ed Packer, about this. We all genuinely know the role that not only we want to play, but that our teammates want us to play within those teams, or within the lineup, within our pitching rotation, everything. We all can throw, but some of us are better pitchers than others. We all can hit. Some of us are better hitters than others. I'm super confident whenever I'm at the bottom of a lineup, because that means when it comes time for me to pitch and throw strikes, I'm not the only one up there looking to hit the home run, looking to win the game for us with the bat. And I did have some history with Kevin and with Ty, the two guys from Connecticut, because I tried to play with them in 2010, 2011, around that era, and it just didn't work out. Ty wanted to play with his brother, with Dave, and we had too many players for our roster, and they ended up going off with Whiff Inc. for that year. So it was me and Kevin and two of his good friends who are also excellent players. One of them was in Texas, and Sean Handel. And we made a run. If we had won together that year in 2011, we'd probably still be playing together. But it didn't work out. We did not win that year. And I think we kind of separated from there and went our own ways. This past year in 2017, what was unique was I was pretty vocal early on about I don't want to do anything on the day to manage the team. I'll order the uniforms. I'll pick our team name. I'll work with a sponsor or whatever. And then after that, I just want to be the ace pitcher or one of the ace pitchers, because Kevin throws really well as well. We didn't get to see him in Texas, but he throws pretty well. I would say comparable to what I throw. Very crafty, very smart, very clever. So I pulled Edgar into the team, and he agreed to be there. And then we talked about Kevin and Ty and brought them on board, and it worked out well because two of them are more round robin style pitchers, and Kevin and I are more potential ace caliber pitching. And I've never in my life been on a team where everyone just immediately knows this is going to be our lineup. And we all agree that this is the order in terms of not potential for output, but immediate on paper talent. So the batting lineup developed immediately. The roles for off season, Sean picks, works with team name, gets the uniforms together, all that fun stuff. It allowed me to create the structure for our team. And then on the day, it allows Kevin and Ty to do what they do best. And Ed too. Ed does this really well. It's something I'm not the best at, which is be perceptive and adaptive and work on the fly to win the game. I'm more of a structured, detail-oriented person, and they're really flexible people in that sense. I don't know how many times during a game Kevin can tell me exactly what we need to do to win, whereas I'm focused on the overall picture, or my focus has been getting us to the tournament and prepping us for the teams we're going to play. And it just works out really well. And I really enjoy being on this team because those other guys give me a different perspective on how the game is played. And it strengthens me as a player. At least that's what I find. It also helps that they're all super talented.
Yeah, definitely great players. I remember you mentioning something about Norris was, he was like keeping you guided in the right direction during some of the, tougher times while you're out there on the flat hill, right? I mean, yeah, so that's good, man. You have a guy sitting there behind you that's been there and done that, and he can offer that guidance to help you, get over the mental issues that goes on when you're pitching, because that happens a lot. I always had those guys on my team, and it helped a lot of the time. So that's huge, man. You really got something there with that. That's great.
Thanks. And can I comment on one thing quickly?
Yeah, absolutely.
And this isn't to take away from Tyler or Ed. They're both phenomenal players. It's just Kevin is one of those guys that he just shows up at the field and he ends up winning. He's just inherently good at looking at a situation once he's there and analyzing it quickly and saying, hey, this is what we need to do to win, or this is what you need to do to perform better. So he's one of those high IQ wiffle ball players, I think, personally, that if you ever get a chance to play on a team with him, he'll make you a better player. And yeah, shout out to him.
My biggest question to you about your team, Cloud9, the 2017 Fast Plastic Texas Open champions, is how in the hell do I get Tyler to talk more? I have questions. I've tried to talk to him at 2 different tournaments, and I don't know. I commented one time about his pitching. I saw him throwing up in Boston at a Golden Stick tournament. I liked what I was seeing. I told him I thought it was really cool. I think he was looking at me like I was some kind of a weirdo. So anyway, I mean, no offense, Tyler, if you're listening, but man, I just like to talk to you about some ball. You're a great player. I need to get you on the show even. So what can you tell me, Sean? How do I break that ice with him?
That's a good reminder of that's an inside look into how our team works, really. Ed's a really kind of social person. He's out there. He's the lead singer in a band. He's a very positive guy. And I'm structural. I'm back home on Photoshop making our graphic or our email or whatever it is. And those two, Kevin and Ty, they're both really free-flowing individuals. I don't think Ty knows what he's going to do tomorrow. He just wakes up and enjoys life and goes out and hits home runs. And just there's a really unique simplicity to what I know of Ty Wagerson. And that's where I'm sure he has deep discussion with his close friends, whatever. Getting to know him, though, is an interesting thing. They call him the silent assassin because he generally is dead silent until he gets the result he wants. And the moment that happens, you'll hear him about 5 or 6 fields over.
Yeah.
I'd say just keep being persistent with him, and just anytime he does something you appreciate or you like, just let him know, and he'll nod at you and smile that little Tyler smile, and that'll be that.
Oh, that's good stuff. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing him already. All right.
Yeah.
Now here's a big question for you. Now you got to be honest with me, because I've been there. I know this feeling. But sometimes championship game, you've already thrown and you're expected to take the ball and go. Did you have any hesitation at all going into that championship game? Were you thinking, maybe Norris needs to step in and let me, set the bench or whatever, anything like that going on with you? Or were you like, no, man, give me the ball. Let's go. Let's get it done.
Truthfully, I hadn't seen any sort of indication in the 2 games that I threw prior that I needed to be relieved. And judging from the wind, from what, like I said, Dave Wegerson had told me, and just from stepping on that field, that was the field we had practiced on at 6:30, 7 a.m. when we showed up at the field that day. I didn't think my teammates would ask for that, but I was open to any sort of communication they had. If they thought, if they had thought Ed Packer would be a better choice to throw the championship game, I'd be open to it. I was truly interested in hearing their opinions. None of them had any doubts. I had no doubts. I wanted to keep pitching, and they said, yeah, just go for it, Sean. Look good in your other 2 games. I mean, it's nice as an ace pitcher to only have to throw 2 games to get to a championship. That's very reasonable. Whereas a younger me would have said, been more critical and said, well, why couldn't you get me to the championship sooner? Why couldn't we have our round robin guy throw the Elite Eight game? The more seasoned 27-year-old Sean said, you know what, this is a good opportunity. I believe it was either a no-hitter or a one-hitter in the quarters. It was definitely at least a one-hitter because I know Jordan Robles had a nice hit off me in the semis. So I'm just thankful that my team backed me and they wanted me to pitch because, I mean, I've been squaring off against these three guys for years now. They were considered my rivals for a couple years. And it was always I beat them in regular season or went in a playoff series locally, but nationally or wherever it was, they would come out on top in the end. So to be considered to be their ace pitcher, for them to say, yeah, we want you to throw this game was a real honor.
So we're going into the tournament expecting to pitch a lot of innings, but or not, because you got these guys that can all throw. What were you prepared to do?
Truthfully, Bill, in the past, I've had those kinds of thoughts and I've entertained them. This tournament, I told myself I wasn't going to think about it. I was just going to let it go and kind of, it will be what it will be. That's something, especially after you have an arm surgery, I think. I had taken 2 years off from wiffle ball. I really didn't play much. I only volunteered and helped out at tournaments, or I traveled and played medium pitch or whatever. So I wanted to pitch as much as I could. I knew I was going to get to pitch. I knew I was allowing myself to throw as hard as I wanted for as much as I wanted. I didn't really care when or how much was needed. It was a matter of set the task before me and I'll take care of it. And I wanted this to be an inclusive kind of communication with my teammates. Again, thankful they gave me the opportunity and trusted me and let me do it.
Yeah, that's a good approach. That's the way you win. So were there any players, old rivals that you went up head to head against? Anything like that occur?
Well, I mentioned Pagano and Evan, who Evan scored the only runs off me. He had a 2-run homer in the championship off me. Those guys, I met them in 2009 in Texas. I was super giddy because I was a rookie at the time and my teammates mocked me endlessly for it. But I got to meet them and play against them, and my only round robin loss in 2009 was to them. So it was really interesting to see them again. And I knew there were some interesting dynamics in that championship game because Matt Griffin really wants a Texas title and he's come close. And I too am a guy who have come close to titles but never actually won the trophy. So I knew one of us was going to be really happy and one of us was going to be distraught. So that was an interesting dynamic. And for rivals, there was another guy there I played in the semifinals. He's probably listening. David Wood, aka Road Toast, or just Toast now, played for the Super Savvy Psychos, and all from 2010 and onward. I was always told he's a great pitcher. You and him, you're going to battle. You're going to have rivalries. It's going to be good. And it never happened until this year in the semis, or this past year in the semis, I should say.
So there really wasn't a guy out there that's just waiting to eat your lunch. You know, like he's like, man, I can't wait to face Steffi. I'm going to take him down. So nothing like that came up as far as you know.
Oh, there was. He's just batting leadoff for my team this year and last year.
Okay.
That's why I specifically wanted him on my team, because it just seems like every time I face Kevin, it works out in his favor. He beats me with ingenuity, or for whatever reason, he's always had my number in playoffs. So I'm glad he's on my roster now.
Well, I know talking to Jonathan King, it was sort of tongue in cheek, but I mean, he's a real competitor, and he had mentioned probably to me 100 times that he hopes he gets to play you. Not mean-spirited, but just like, man, if I'm going to play, I want to play against the best. I want to see the best pitching, and I want to prove I can still hit the best pitching. So I think he got that opportunity. Maybe did he bat against you?
He did. We got to face him and Will Marshall and Will's brother in the quarterfinals. They were a really good team, and I know Will was pretty exhausted from what I saw because he had thrown a couple games before them. But when he found out that we were playing them in the quarters, he warmed up again. He started, and he threw really well, even being tired.
Yeah.
For three. I ended up walking him a couple times because it was more efficient to deal with the other hitters in the lineup. He is a very tough bat.
Yeah, that's what you got to do sometimes. You mentioned old Road Toast. I think I read something earlier that they've officially changed his name to Texas Toast, maybe. But there's a lot of chatter going on today out there. So I heard Ed sent me a text and said I should talk a little bit about it. But honestly, guys, I haven't got a chance to really delve into it to see exactly what the issues are. But it's getting pretty heated, so I may take a look at that later on and have something to talk about next week. So what's in store for Cloud9 for this season?
I think the cat's kind of out of the bag in terms of who's on our roster, what our capabilities are, and I've even mentioned here 2 of our guys are more round robin pitchers, and the other 2 are more ace caliber pitchers. We didn't get to see Kevin throw in Texas, but he's a very capable, crafty pitcher. He always closes out his wins with a super curve, and maybe we'll see that this year. Could see some rebranding, could see name change or whatever. I mean, I love working with new uniforms, new jerseys, new apparel. I'm not sure yet. But as for a run at Texas, I like our shots. I like our odds, I should say. And definitely looking forward to getting back there. 100%. That atmosphere was incredible. The food was great. People were fun to be around. I believe Jonathan King kept 3 Stacks barbecue until about 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. for us. It was incredible. And I would highly recommend any player that didn't get to go last year, you need to be there this year because it's going to be one for the record books.
Yeah, I agree. And I can also say that I know everybody's going to be gunning for you, wanting to take you down, and I'll be first in line trying to eat your lunch, Sean, so be ready.
Well, you guys were first in line this year, too. We played you first game, remember? Round robin.
Yeah, I know. That was a very, what's the best way to describe that game? Uneventful, maybe?
I think maybe we were both still sleeping or cold or something because the bats were pretty quiet, but, I mean, it was close. Joel threw really well, and there's another thing. I'm really happy. Joel, his brother, Mike Cross, everyone from GSW is back. It's just good to see the old players again. Good to see Las Vegas Whifflers. Good to see Vipers. Good to see West Coast Whiffle Report with their crew. It's always great being in Texas.
Yeah, we got to get that West Coast. Put it this: we need the west of the Mississippi presence, right?
The Mississippi, yeah.
West of the Mississippi, and perhaps let's call it southeast of the Tennessee River. We need all those guys fired up about playing again. So it's time, guys. Well, anyway, Sean, it's been a great interview with you. JB, you got any questions for Sean?
I was just gonna throw in there and ask him what do you think of the show so far since we've been back on the air this year?
I like it. I enjoy it. Any chance I get, I watch it, and I need to share it more often than I actually do. I think I don't know, to make Wiffle Ball great, to make the show great, to make Fast Plastic great, anything, even what Bill was talking about earlier about, did you get any responses, Sean? Did you hear anybody after the tournament? I think it just takes a little bit of personal commitment. So if I go to Texas in 2018, it doesn't work out for me. Feel whatever I feel, but I hope an hour or two later, whenever that championship is going on, I'm one of those guys, messaging or walking up to them saying, "Hey, good job, man. Congrats on the W." And if that kind of effort and energy gets poured into wiffle tournaments, show here, any sort of mutual site or vocation where we can all come together as a community of players, that's a good thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, again, this has been Sean Steffi, the Texas Open Fast Plastic 2017 national champion and MVP. Sean, great job, man. Thanks for coming on the show, and I'm sure you will be back on again at some point.
Hey, thank you, Bill. Thank you, JB.
Yep,
Appreciate
Sean.
you having me.
Have a great night.
Thanks, Sean.
Yep. All right. That was a great call there. Sean seems like a true sportsman.
Yeah, he is, man. He does. Not only is he a great player, but he does a lot of stuff behind the scenes to promote the sport. And that's what we need, more guys doing things like that. So Anything blowing up over there? Catching on fire?
David Wood, he had a post on there telling you about Ty. He doesn't talk. If he does, it's straight to the point. Otherwise, he's only screams with forehead veins. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
I'm getting a flurry of texts and phone calls. So hopefully, guys.
Well, surely they know we're on the air right now, and they would hopefully not be calling, trying to talk to you on your cell phone.
Well, yeah, let's hope. But I will get back in touch with all you guys. But thanks. You're listening to what? The Fast Plastic Radio Network, coming to you live from
WROC 93.5, The Rock. Facebook Live on WROC The Rock, and live on YouTube via Fast Plastic. I will tell you, I did end up messaging the Wiffle Boys Pizza on Facebook and told them we tried to call them and what we were wanting to do and everything, and they seemed very open to what I was asking. I did tell them to try to call us about 8:30 or so, but we're a little bit on time, so I don't know that they've called in. I didn't see anything come across the line, so maybe we'll try that next week on the show. We'll try to call them then, since they have an idea of what we're doing, that it's not some kind of scam or something. Yeah. Not two guys sitting in a room on a tin can or something like that. I gave them our live audio link on Listen to My Radio, the WROC935.radiostream321.com. And I also gave them our Facebook page and said we're streaming live currently. Check us out.
Okay.
I told them I wanted to plug their restaurant on the air, and just mainly what the show's about, talking about wiffle ball coast to coast. So
yeah, I mean, we could turn them into a national, give them national exposure.
Absolutely.
You never know, man. The sky's the limit.
Who knows? They could be a sponsor of a team.
There you go.
And I noticed when I was on their Facebook, Babs, Big Bats.
Yeah, Big Flies.
Yeah, Big Flies. He's already been to their Facebook page and liked their page. So that's what I would encourage everybody to do. I have posted a link on our Facebook page for them. Blow their Facebook page up. Let them know that the wiffle ball people are real. We're out there, and we've got a big following, and maybe we can get them to talk. And who knows? Maybe if we get a tournament here in Southern Illinois, they can sponsor it, and we'll get pizza for it.
Well, back in the day, JB, I would have made arrangements for a guy like that runs a restaurant or a business like that to actually be in attendance at the NCT in Texas. And then, then the doors are wide open. We'll blow the roof off of it. So
absolutely.
But one time at the championship tournament down there in Austin, Cedar Park, we had live bands. We had food catered on site. We took over a complete billiards hall several different times, several different billiards hall, pool halls,
really,
bar and grills. We just take them over. And that's the impact that all the players, when we unite, we come together, and show our power. That's what we can do. Yeah. I mean, we owned that town down there. We'd go down to 6th Street, downtown Austin, which is like a big party scene. And we owned it, man. So maybe we'll get back there, guys.
Absolutely. I mean, we got the Fast Plastic Radio Network up and running, getting the word out on the tournaments and what's been going on with wiffle ball. So this is the start to get the power back.
Yeah. So
I also posted a link on our Facebook page for wiffleballtournaments.com. That's on our Facebook page, so check that out. Go in there and look at Millsy's page, give him some feedback. Also got the Wiffle for Cancer benefit there in New Jersey. Be sure and check that out, guys. I'll throw that out to Sean. Hey, you're not far from there. Get your team in there and get to playing.
Yeah, get some hacks in. That's what we all need, hacks.
Yeah.
Like I was talking last week to Ryan, everybody wants to do tutorials on pitching, right? I mean, That's the hot subject. Everybody wants to be a star and show his skills throwing. Very few of them can actually do it and pull it off. But nobody wants to explain how to hit good pitching. I mean, it's just so. I mean, I understand why there really isn't tutorials on how to hit, but it's time, guys. We need to start thinking about how to teach younger players how to hit good pitching. Let's see here. We need to take a station break or anything like that.
Well, actually, we're just a minute away from our next interview.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if you want to man the mic for just a minute, I will get our next caller on the line.
Yeah, be sure to get out there and listen to some of the other shows going on. We have Palisades. WBL has a great podcast. You can check in. They're not too long, so you can get in, listen to them, get out relatively quick, get a lot of info. Two Wiffle Dudes podcast network, I think is what now they're calling themselves. Some shows up there about the NWLA. It's like a different style of game altogether. So check that out. And our next guest here, bringing on the show, Jim Dalby. He's been doing a show for a long time, the West Coast Wiffle Report. We're going to talk a little bit tonight about what he's got in store for that, as well as his playing career a little bit. So, JB, you got old DP Jim Dalby on the line.
He is. Jim, welcome to Fast Plastic Radio Network.
Thanks for having me. This is an honor, and we're live, right?
We are live. Thanks to JB. Everybody should be sending in messages thanking JB for all his hard work, getting all this stuff worked out so we can do shows and have great guests on like Jim Dalby.
I think the last time we tried to get Jim on here, we were having all kinds of problems.
Yeah, we were.
We got all those fixed this time, Jim, so we're good to go.
Yeah, I can hear everybody really well. This is great.
I think Jim was secretly sabotaging us the last time we tried to get him on.
He had voodoo dolls.
I wanted more money.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, we got a sack of pesos headed your way right now.
Great.
So, for all these guests that I had on, I put together a list of questions, and I'll go through and say, yeah, that's a good one. That's not, whatever. I didn't do this for you because I think I can carry a conversation with you. I've known you for a long time. I know what you're about. I know your style. And you and I have talked on your show many times, so I'm just going to wing it here. So I really want to start off talking about you as a player. I know you've played for a long time. You got your start playing over there in Glendale. Can you talk a little bit about those days?
Yeah, the first time we ever played in a tournament out here, one of the guys, Greg Edwards, I used to work with, he's also a member of the Vipers, and he was playing in this wiffle ball thing, and I had no idea because we were still playing. We were playing in our backyard, not to that level, but I went out and saw him play in the championship. Him and Valiant and another guy, I can't remember his name, were playing against Tom Jankowski in the finals of this tournament out here. So that's where that's the first wiffle ball I'd seen at that level. And I was grilling Valiant during the game. So what do I need to work on? What do we need to do here? What's going to be the key? And
what year?
He said, you got to be able to get this ball across the plate. You got to be able to throw strikes. That was 2000. It must have been year 2000 or 2001.
Okay. For some reason, I was thinking maybe you were playing in the 90s, but I guess time flies on me. So 2000.
Yeah, no, that
okay.
Valiant definitely was. Valiant and Greg played, I think, in every one of those. But
yeah, so that Glendale tournament, that was a huge tournament back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it would be between 75 and 110, 120 teams every year. And it was just amazing the first year we went out there. Me and Randy played with some other buddies of mine, and we actually got to play in the youth division because Randy was 13. You needed somebody on your team that was 13 or younger. And so that worked out well for us.
Yeah, so I remember the first time I played there. No, yeah, the first time I played there, I think it was '99, and I was good friends with a team called the Newport Beach Bombers, and as the title states, they were from Newport Beach, California. And I told them, I said, you guys need to make the drive over and play in this tournament. Well, these guys are coming from, 72 degrees year round, and and they were all former minor league baseball players, really good athletes. I mean, top notch. But anyway, we got there playing in Glendale. I think it was in October, and that's like one of the more, if I remember right, the fall always seemed like the hottest time of the year out in the Southwest. And it was a hot, miserable day. Mark, the guy on the Bombers, had pitched most of the game. And I can remember on their way home, driving back to L.A., he started cramping up, and they had to stop in the middle of the 10 freeway and get out of the car and stretch him out because he was about to die from cramps from pitching all day in that tournament in that heat. So if that tells you anything about how grueling that tournament was, that's a good example.
It's crazy here, and you have to really watch it because you don't notice yourself. You don't sweat because it dries out so fast, and that's what some of the super qualifiers we had here. We were really warning everybody, you got to get drinking water because it'll catch up with you quick.
So you played with Randy. When did you see Randy really start developing into the ace pitcher that he became?
I think it was the next year. The next year was no, it wasn't the next year. It was 2 years after that when it was when Jim and Tom played with you and Rich in Florida at the championship.
Yeah.
We were here. That was the same weekend as the Glendale tournament, and that was the year when we first started really playing more. And so it was me, Shoeless, Greg, and Randy played here, and Randy pitched all the big games, and I think that's when we realized what we had there.
Yeah, Randy turned out to be a great pitcher, and I mean you pitched really well too, and so I'm curious about that. So you grew up in Illinois, correct?
Yes.
All right. So were you exposed to wiffle ball? Your hometown, in the Midwest, out in the Great Plains, basically. Were you exposed to playing wiffle ball, or did you later discover it as you were older?
Yeah, we played it all the time in the backyard. Me and my brother Dave, and he was an incredible athlete and a lot better than I was at it. But we had a lot of battles in that backyard, and my dad swore that it was going to get even with me the way we would wear the yard out in the pitching and batting areas.
Yeah, I'm sure there were some epic battles. So you played, you played with your brother, and you were also quite a basketball player as well, correct?
I just always loved basketball. I don't know if I was a decent player. I was never great, but I've always loved it, and that was always my first love. And that it wasn't even that popular. Back in those days, basketball wasn't the thing.
Yeah. Well, for guys that don't know a whole lot about the history of basketball in the state of Illinois, I'm talking about high school basketball. A lot of people understand the impact, the importance, Indiana, but Illinois just as much so. The actual term March Madness was coined in the state of Illinois. A guy wrote a book many years ago about school basketball, and I think the name of the book was called March Madness. Are you aware of that, Jim?
I'm not aware of the book. I know that's where March Madness started.
Yeah, so I was, I'm wondering about your basketball career, because, you know, over the years, like I said, we've talked a lot, and we talk a little bit about basketball. I know you're a very tall guy, so I was always thinking that, you know, you're probably quite a basketball player. So, and how's that tie into wiffle ball? Well, if you're a guy, you know how to pitch, you're tall, you can usually dominate. So, you know, I saw you pitch some gems out there over the years.
Yeah, well, I've always enjoyed it. I always had to sneak up on people. That's what I always figured. I never the hardest thrower, but I really had a lot of fun and more endurance than anything. How long are you going to wait for me to throw that strike across after you get up there? That's
yeah. Well, you're
kind of thinking that way.
You're tall and you're lefty, and I can remember, you know, I hit against you a few times, and it always seemed to me like your ball would break differently, or sometimes it almost, if I'm remembering correctly, it's almost like some of your pitches had a double break on them. Am I imagining that? But I never would see that from guys unless you're throwing a brand new unscuffed ball. You know, you could get that action, but it seemed like you had the ability to do that.
I don't know. I think you just, you know, you find something that works. You know how it goes, and
yeah,
it was more of trying to survive. And I know I've had a lot of guys say, "Man, I just can't pick it up. I can't pick it up out of your hand," and I never understood that because it seemed like you know, like we get up against the guys that throw so much harder. Sorry about the dog in the background.
Yeah.
But yeah, we almost had a good time with it. But you know, when I was 55, this was, how long has that been now? It's been like 6 years ago. I got to pitch. You know, Mako liked me telling this story. But the Gunslingers that year in Golden Stick were undefeated. They were 17-0. They played in several tournaments, and I got to pitch against them, and we actually beat them. It was me, Tom, and John, two of my sons, Jonathan and Daniel, and pitched the game of my life, and it was a lot of fun. But that's kind of what they always said was, you know, we can't figure out what it's going to do, and
yeah, I mean, you had some magic in those fingertips, I guess.
I guess so.
All right, so we talked about, you know, you started in 2000. You and Randy, you played in Glendale, and I remember you came to LA and you played in some qualifiers there, some pretty tough competitive tournaments that had a lot of arms and a lot of players that went on to win titles, championships, and such. And you played as the Dream Police, and that's where you got your nickname, DP, right? I mean, those early days, you were the Dream Police.
Yep, we're the Dream Police, and we came out, and I came out one time with Jim and Greg, and I played with those guys a tournament. Then we came back the next year. Jim was playing with you guys, and we came out, and that first tournament we came out as Dream Police. The teams, it was just incredible. It was a who's who of wiffle ball at that point.
Yeah, how do you get the name Dream Police? Tell me that. I've always wondered that, and I can never remember to ask you. Where does that name come from?
Yeah, actually, on the West Coast Wiffle Report in the next week or so, I'm bringing on a guy that all that started with too. A buddy of mine, Greg, that played basketball with. It was our basketball team name back in those days too.
No.
Back in the mid '80s, our leagues that we almost played in, and it was obviously the Cheap Trick album, Dream Police, and it just seemed like it was a great name for us. And he was a big Cheap Trick fan, and I was too. He's a huge Cheap Trick fan. When we'll get him on the show, we're going to talk about that. But that's where that came from, and always just seemed like a great name, and so I just transferred it over to wiffle ball too.
Yeah, that'll be a great story. I'll definitely listen in on that one. So the following year, 2003, 03, or a couple years later, then you guys come together. It's you, Greg Edwards, Shoeless Dave Newman, Randy, and some yahoo named Jim Ballion. You guys managed in 2003 to get to the championship game against the Shockers, the DeRoche boys, and went down as one of the classic NCT finals of all time. The Vipers, your team, ends up winning the championship. You still have a lot of fresh memories from that, or are they starting to fade?
No, that's not fading at all. That game was so intense, and both teams, we played each other so many times that summer already, and everybody knew each other, and it was great. And Randy came through actually in the semifinals when we played in the box in the semis. Greg doubled and Randy tripled in that one. Then the same thing happened in the finals. Same combination. Greg doubled off of Joel, and Randy got that triple that was about 6 inches from a home run.
Yeah, that was a great team. It seemed like all the guys on that team really, came through when they needed. And of course, Ballion, he didn't let you guys down. He pitched. He knew he had to be the guy out there on the flat hill, and he came through for you guys. I remember seeing his arm was bright red as an apple and swollen, but after you guys won that, I can remember talking to you, and both you and Ballion had the biggest smiles I think I've ever seen on players, and just it was just disbelief that you guys had pulled it off. But it was a great win.
Unbelievable. That effort that Jim had in that tournament is, you figure in these games, 6-inning game, you're going to be throwing 80, 90 pitches, and he's pitched every game. There was one game Randy pitched and Jim pitched all the rest, and it's just that arms made of rubber. I've always thought that. I don't know how he did it, but we always kid him, at least I do, is I was the only other guy that was a possibility to pitch, and he knew he wasn't going to let that happen. So he would just suck it up and ignore the pain and move on.
So who has that trophy from 03?
Jim does.
How many days has he given you that trophy to have up in your bedroom, or your trophy room, I should say?
No,
huh?
No,
no.
He hasn't. He hasn't given that up.
Oh man!
Talk to him about that when you get him on.
I'm gonna have to. That's not right. Wow. Well, all right. So
I remember back when you guys won and we won in Glendale, we were wanting to play you guys in the game. Not that we would have had a chance, but that was our big talk, that Ballion was scared to play us.
Yeah, he's a real character, I can tell you. The elusive Jim Ballion, ever elusive. So the next year, you guys went on another run, came so close. Were you thinking that the Vipers, so after you win the national championship in 03, were you thinking at that point going forward, like, who's going to beat us? I mean, we're going to move through 04, push right on through. Did you have that approach, or were you guys laid back about it and let's just see what happens,
I think we were always laid back. We were laid back about everything. And I think we went into that one, Randy had an extra year under him, and he would be able to pitch a little bit more. And I think we were all just a lot more confident, and we went into it just taking it one game at a time to see, and that's the way we always did it. We'd show up at the tournaments and kind of talk a little bit ahead of time, going, okay, here's what we need to do. And this is the kind of way it always went. We were laid back so much that, as you know, we're not big celebrators.
Yeah, I know. That's, for the most part, I think for the most part, back then in those days, all the Southern Southwest guys were really laid back. We didn't, Rich and I, we didn't celebrate when we won. We're like, all right, good game. What's next? And it wasn't until things really blew up that, I don't know. I can remember, that 2002 season, Balian coming to play in LA with Rich and I and Tom Jankowski. But I can remember telling Balian that, you can't have that laid back approach anymore, because if you are, we're going to get the crap beat out of us. We're playing the Abros and the Gunners and the Shockers every single game, and it's like, you got to get aggressive with these guys and don't let them run you over. And he was always looking at me like, man, who are you? And why are you having to tell me this? I know what to do. So, but he's still, as well as you guys have always been real laid back. And that Whiff movie that came out documented that perfectly, because they're talking to you guys out there in Arizona, and you're like, guys are out there tooting their own horns and all this. And we're just like, whatever.
A great story about that didn't really make it onto the film is our first game that year in Texas. We played the Mud Ducks, and it was nothing forever. I forget how many innings it went until total bases were considered, but they had batted, and they were coming up to bat, and I think we had like a 1 or 2 total base lead on it. And Greg and Shulis had been arguing about some Simpsons episode about what really happened. And, every inning they're coming in, and the argument would start back up again. And so we're in this last inning, and Greg and Dave are doing their normal thing. They're arguing as they're walking back out of the field. And Megan looks at me and goes, "What are you guys doing? Do you not realize this is the last inning?" Like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not sure what happened in that episode, and that's why they're still arguing about it. She goes, I don't know, not that. Or why are you worried about this?
Yeah,
it was pretty funny. And I have some more stories of Greg. Greg's going to come on the show, and he's a character. He's another. You were talking about was it Ty? You were talking about the quiet assassin, and that's kind of what Greg was known for, because he really didn't buddy up much to anybody.
Yeah, he was a tough one to figure out. I'd always look at him real quiet, but so let's talk a little bit about your shifting of gears for the West Coast Wiffle Report. What you got planned, and what's Greg bring to the show, basically?
Well, Greg's actually not going to be hosting. He's going to just be a guest, a one-night guest. I wish I could get him to host it with me, because it would be pretty funny, because he's a lot funnier than what anybody would ever imagine. He's kind of a smart mouth too. Should be welcome on there too, to get some more excitement. But I really hope to just dig in with Greg about some of the things from those seasons, like we were just talked about. It'll be more of a recap of that. That's why I kind of still doing the show. It's just good to chronicle some of these lives and some of these wiffle ball memories. You talked about this day in history, nobody knows. Hopefully with all this stuff that you guys are doing there, and some of the stuff I'm doing, and a lot of the other podcasts, there's a lot of wiffle ball podcasts. We can get some of this stuff chronicled, and people can remember it.
Yeah, it definitely needs to happen. Over the years, there's been guys, that have made some valiant attempts to do so. Mike Palanzar. I had, the Fast Plastic web site that I built last year that was hacked and taken down, and I know who did it now. But yeah, I mean, there's just not enough of us trying to do that. So you're right. If everybody works together, we can capture that, and it will be out there for everybody to see forever. So Greg is not going to be a permanent host. He's just going to come on as a guest. So does that mean that Brock is still in the mix as well, come and going when he gets time?
Yeah. He's in the middle of his track season, so it's kind of hard to get him. I think Sundays are usually when I record, and he's usually trying to get himself ready for after the meets on Saturday, and everything that's going on there, and hopefully we'll get him back in there. Hopefully he doesn't get too relaxed and gets back in there again.
What was the first show? What year?
Gosh, that's what I was looking at that, and the oldest one I've found so far, I think I played it on one of them. It was like August 27th, 2008. There was a show we did, and that's the oldest one that I found where I actually set a date on it. But when we were doing it before that, because I tried to record some stuff at the national championship a couple of times, and
yeah, that's what I thought.
a lot of that.
I thought you guys did a lot in 07 and maybe even into 06. So
I think you're right. Either that stuff's just gone off of the website, off the Blog Talk website, or maybe that's not what I was using then.
Well, maybe one day they'll resurface and you can market those as the lost episodes and make a fortune.
There you go. Yeah. That'll be our meal ticket, Bill.
Yeah, there you go. So, Jim, are we going to see the West Coast Wiffle Report at the NCT this year in Frisco?
Well, that's up in the air. I can't imagine how, but we'll see. I had surgery on my other leg, and the way we used to take care of ourselves by just walking it off.
Yeah.
So I'm getting better. I'm up and around now, but we'll see. I would probably go if I definitely plan on being there. The West Coast Wiffle Report will be there. I don't know if a team will be there.
Yeah.
How about that?
Okay. Yeah, I got you. All right. And
is that a good enough deal?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great deal. Just to have you there, that's all that matters. So for all those guys out there listening, how do they listen to the West Coast Wiffle Report? What's your newest outlet or venue that you have going?
Well, we switched back to the Blog Talk Radio. I like to do the live stuff. There's every once in a while we'll put out a recorded episode and just put it up there, but they can go to blogtalkradio.com, West Coast Wiffle Report. There's all kinds of stuff on there. We do me and a guy that has another podcast here in town, Bill. We do Survivor updates every week or so. Kind of tongue-in-cheek thing. I used to do a Survivor update minute for some radio station in Vermont that I know a buddy that works at. I did that. It was like 8 or 9 years of doing that.
So that's Survivor, the rock band, right? Eye of the Tiger, Rocky Balboa, right?
Right.
No, I'm kidding. I know what it is. It's a TV show, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun with it. We're just basically making fun of the people that are on the show and having some fun with it that way, and trying to get some extra listeners in there, and also plan on doing some other stuff. We're kind of thinking about too, just trying to branch out a little bit, see if we can garner anybody else in, and maybe they'll start playing wiffle ball too.
All right, so close this out here. I want to. What was it? A fun fact. All right. We got Jim Dalby of the West Coast Wiffle Report from out in Phoenix, Arizona area. Been around Fast Plastic and the competitive wiffle ball scene for a long time. Everybody knows him. Great guy. But you and I were talking, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you hold the record as the oldest winner of a game at a Fast Plastic NCT. Is that correct? Pitching wise?
As part of it, this one was part of when the Golden Stick. So I say as part of a national tournament.
Okay. I got you.
And that was at 55 when I pitched against Gunslingers and beat them. We also, I got to play there in the national tournament that year, but I don't think I pitched and won any.
Yeah.
I was hoping for a win this last year to get it up to 60, just in case Chuck Hensley gets any bright ideas and starts playing again.
I have a feeling we may see Chuck, so you better be prepared.
But yeah, we didn't get it done, but we had fun though. It was a great tournament. I'll tell you, anybody out there that's thinking about going, you got to get there. It was an amazing tournament.
Yeah, it was great. I had a lot of time hanging out with you and everybody else. So, but this interview is great, Jim. I'm glad you got the chance to come on and talk. I know the first time we tried, we're just having all kinds of problems, but hopefully you'll have me on the West Coast Wiffle Report coming up, and we can talk again soon.
Yep, we got some more stories to tell there. I want to hear about a couple things we talked about, and really appreciate the show, and you guys are doing a great job, and can't say enough about it. And I love listening to it. I love the time slot because I get that drive home isn't as bad through all the traffic out here.
Yeah, that'd be sweet, definitely. So, all right. Well, thanks a lot, Jim. JB?
Jim, I shared your West Coast Wiffle Report link on our Facebook page for the listeners.
Okay.
So they'll have a link
Thank
to
you.
find your blog there so they can check you out, okay?
All right. Good deal. Appreciate it.
All right,
If anybody
Jim.
wants to come on, West Coast Wiffle Report at gmail.com.
There you go. They'll start stacking up. Well, have a good night. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. We'll see you. See you, JB.
Yeah. See you,
All
Jim.
right, good night.
Night. All right. Another great call.
Jim Dalby, the legendary Jim Dalby.
Legendary.
Yeah. Well, JB, that was quite eventful. Let me remind everybody real quick. Next week, we've got Lou Levesque and Christopher Schrock coming on the show, and could be others.
Could be. You never know. Never know what's going to be up our sleeve, and you never know what gremlins may appear.
Yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
And I've already got the show lined up for the following week as well. I'm not going to reveal that yet. I kind of like to keep all of our thousands of listeners on the edge of their seat waiting, but it's going to be an interesting show to say the least. I have a lot of great things to discuss in 2 weeks as well as next week as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
Now, thanks to you, JB, again, for everything that you're doing here at the show on The Rock and for the Fast Plastic Radio Network.
Absolutely. I want to throw a shout out to all of our listeners and viewers out there. I got quite a few thanks on there for everything. I appreciate everything, guys. Keep it real. Be sure and tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel for the Fast Plastic Radio Network right here on 93.5 The Rock. And hopefully here soon we'll be up live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week here, streaming music when we're not live, and re-airing some of the West Coast Wiffle Reports and some of the other podcasts out there, Two Wiffle Dudes. Get those
Palisades,
absolutely. Yeah. So we'll be getting those up here soon. So till next week, we'll see you.
I bid you farewell, arrivederci, sayonara, and all that sort of jazz.
What's that smell?
Adios, you chicken-plucking little stinker! Come on! Quit stalling!
As I was saying, Buster, this planet ain't big enough for the two of us. Oh, off you go.
Well, I can't do any more damage around this popsicle stand. I'm out of here!
Corporal Succotash, I wish you'd reconsider. We hope you enjoyed the show. When I say whoa, I mean whoa!
Do I hear amen?
You're mocking me, aren't you?
Darn, that's the end.
Whoa!